GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand, presents Galata Plus at the Berlin Film Festival 2024.
GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
Hello, Raam Reddy.
Hello.
Congratulations on having a film in competition at one of the sections of the Berlinale.
Thank you.
After 30 years, an Indian film is in competition.
Yes.
So, pop quiz. Do you know what the last film was?
1994. The Shelter of the Wings, was it?
Yeah, okay. So, Buddhadev Dasgupta's
Yes,
Chara Char.
okay.
Not bad.
Yes.
You actually looked it up.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so.
But there was a film in 2020, just saying, with the second one.
Yeah. But I'm saying, Buddhadev Dasgupta's film as well
Mm-hmm.
was about a bird catcher.
Was it really?
Yeah. I mean, not that yours is about a bird catcher, but birds and wings play a big
Yes.
part of your film.
Yes.
So I think the key to getting into Berlinale
Yes.
is to make a film about
Wings. Flight.
wings,
Birds.
flight, birds, whatever it is. I'm just kidding. But, congratulations. It's seriously that you were hopping on stage yesterday after the screening.
Yeah, I'm a bit hyper like that. And
Yeah, you were literally like dancing.
Yeah,
and
no,
you
I felt it, I was
Yeah.
excited.
the audience energy.
Audience energy.
Right.
It just channelized.
Nice. It's nice. I'm going to ask you about, the single shot has become such a cliche, right? It's like
Right.
anybody that wants to show, look, I'm a filmmaker, is doing this single shot.
Right.
But the one in your film, the one that opens your film, is marvelous. And I'm not going to start,
Thank
I'm going to spoil it for anybody,
Right.
simply because there is an emotional through graph
Right.
that starts with a very mundane thing
Yes.
and ends with something spectacularly
Fantastic.
fantastical.
Fantastical,
Like
right.
something like that. So tell me, when does one use a single shot? I mean, I know everybody's going to give a different answer, but I want to know what Raam Reddy says. When would Raam Reddy use a single shot? Because I'll tell you why. Because in a way, a single shot takes you out of a film.
Yeah, and
Because-
I'm typically not a fan, to be honest.
Yeah.
I believe in the cut.
Yeah, because
personally.
the thing is, I'm like, when I'm watching cuts, it seems to be flowing organically.
Exactly.
But when you have like this big ass film shot,
Yes.
Single shot,
Yes.
It's like it's telling me, oh look, the single shot's happening, right? And it's
Right.
like really distracting because it takes you out of the film.
Right.
So what made you say this has got to be a single shot?
No, it's the idea of traveling or journeying. Like you just said, it started somewhere and ended somewhere else. So I like to use single shots to show geographic mobility, if that makes any sense.
Nice, that makes sense.
Because I don't believe in the wide shot. I don't believe in the shot that's out there. I like to stay with my characters. So if I want to set up a space and use geographic mobility, I'll have the camera move with my characters through space 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is space 1 saying to space 2, saying to space 3? So we're journeying with him. We connect with him in a certain way. We set up that we are with our characters and we're not going to leave them.
Right.
So feel them, believe them. And if you're going to do it in a realistic space and then end with something more, that's what my film is.
Yeah. No, so it's organically linked to your film.
Absolutely.
Because the other thing you do in that shot is that you introduce all the characters.
Correct.
Right. So
Yes.
the thing is, as you're traveling.
Like half introduce.
Okay, right.
No, but absolutely introduce them. You travel through spaces, you travel through people, you hear it. I wanted that soft start narratively and that hard start emotionally or atmospherically.
Yeah. And you even introduce the idea of a leopard that will later be seen.
Yes.
So it kind of just sets up the whole film, all the people, and later when we reflect on the film, we also see that this has set up the emotional graph of the film.
That was the intention. And I'm so glad it kind of came out. Interconnectedness,
Right.
like even with my first film, narrative interconnectedness is what I just love playing with.
Right.
And I both take it very seriously and very playfully at the same time. You take it seriously on the narrative and emotional level, but like playfully on some other level, and it forms like this tapestry, fresco, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and I like the fact that whether it's Tithi or whether it's this film, you're not a very story guy. You're more like a vignettes guy.
Right.
Am I right there? You kind of have a story. There is a like a like a semblance of a plot going on, but you're not like harping on that too much. You kind of like to go around it.
I like to create a narrative backbone first. So we have our fires which are going to hook us, right? And that's where we are connect to the narrative as a slow burn. Burn. Anyway, sorry. Well, connected to the narrative is like is that, and then within that, like the winds of heaven dance between. There's a Khalil Gibran quote where let the winds of heaven dance between the connections, and that's where life comes into it, and I want that space for life because I want to create this magical, like this thing where you believe it's real. I take that very seriously.
Yeah.
I start the film, there are no credits when we start. You don't want to, it's not a film. I'm not going to shout that it's a film. This is an experience, believe it.
Yeah. And speaking of the credits, I just loved that wonderful cursive font
Oh, thank you.
that you used, or your designer used, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
because it's so reminiscent of a Fable.
Yes.
That was just lovely. So just an offside, because I'm a big font freak. So
Are you really?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
super.
you spoke
And
about
that's the playfulness, like the cursive font, so it has that within the, like the narrative weight, of the body, but there's still that playful, light, airy.
yeah. Once upon a time kind of
Absolutely.
thing. Yeah. We were just speaking about your corduroy jacket before the interview began.
Yes.
And there's a story.
There is.
Yeah.
A story that just happened yesterday and made me very emotional. I bought this, I've been working hard to finish. So I bought this on the internet. Actually, my wife did. And I decided that it's super cool and I was going to wear it for my premiere. It wasn't not much thought put into it, but yesterday as I was getting dressed, my wife was like, what is, there's a quote, you should read it. And I looked at it and it actually says, I'm going to read it out. It says, mountains are formed over time. And that, I've worked on this like as a labor of love. Not just is it set in the mountains, but it's the mountain that, we all climbed. And then it goes on to say that galaxies change their shape gradually, which again
Is in the film.
And it ends very sweetly with, and we grow old slowly. And that's, again, the innocence that I wanted to bring to a mature film in space. So it made me very emotional.
And what are the odds?
What are the odds,
Yeah.
Like, I teared up then, and I was like...
Yeah.
I was like...
there's actually a character that says the word Brahmand in the movie. Like, the cosmic stuff, right?
Brahmand, yes.
It's just freakish that you got this quote in your jacket.
Yes, and I wore it on the day the film was born, so...
Yeah. This is a really obvious question, but I guess one has to ask it. Tithi's 2015 is when it came out. And we're almost looking at a decade later.
Yeah.
Like it's 2012, okay, 9 years.
Yeah.
What was Raam Reddy doing all this time? Doing all this time?
He was working on ways to create a film as audacious as this and actually make it happen.
Right.
Because there is the creative side of it, which happens in spurts, but then there's the building, the mountain that was formed over time. It needs to be built piece by piece, and we went through a lot of things. Happened in the journey, and in between I did other things. I let life come in, go. But as I built this like very meticulously, it needed that time and space.
Are you talking about the writing part of it, the financing part of it?
All of that.
All of that.
All of that. Everything was like a stepping stone and like a journey. 3 years of pandemic doesn't help anybody. We weathered that storm as did everybody, and here we are.
I hope we don't have to wait till 2034.
2034? No, I think 2055. Life is just, it is what it is. I don't know. I'm a very in the moment guy, and like, I hope not.
But you are planning to make films, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
As in, and this is a stepping stone towards different things. I think I like challenging myself.
At the screening yesterday, I couldn't stay for the full Q&A, but I was really moved when one person stood up and said that she'd been at the Berlinale several times, and this is the best film she's seen ever. I found that very touching simply because, whenever somebody asks me what is the best film you've ever seen, I'm always like stuck. I have no idea what it is because there's so many films that you love, right? And yours is a film that I love. But is it the best film ever? I wouldn't be able to say that.
Yeah.
And I mean this with the greatest of compliments because I really loved your film.
Yeah, of course.
But for a film to have spoken to somebody so much that they think that this is the best film ever, that's so beautiful, right?
Oh, don't. I mean, now it's like so many things have happened that have been so emotional here, like after all this. Yeah, I mean, what can I say when someone says something like that?
Yeah.
There's a finality to that
Yeah, I mean,
statement, and that means that, it touched on some level. Today morning screening, two people came out with tears and they said it touched me. And we didn't talk about it. We didn't think about it,
Right.
like nothing. But I was like, I mean, I'm so glad. I mean, what can I say? Yeah.
So I know that this is not a story about a story,
Yes.
but for the sake of the viewers, can you just describe the film in a couple of lines?
Yeah, I mean, it's about a family, a happy family who live in an estate of fruit orchards in the Indian Himalayas. So that's the setting. And on the onset of spring, there are suddenly these fires that start happening within their orchards.
Right.
And they don't know who's starting them or why. And as the story goes on, you start to unravel so many things,
Yeah.
and the mystery grows, and it eventually comes to some form of,
Right.
you know,
Yeah,
dot,
yeah.
dot, dot.
Yeah, dot, dot, dot. Right. Among the many things, of course. One thing that really I loved was the fact that you think you're going to find an answer to a particular question,
Right.
which is like, what are these fires and like who's starting them,
Right.
But then you realize that the fires are not really the point, as in who's setting those fires is not really the point. There's something else that's happening.
Yes.
What made you take this kind of detective story route, getting to a point? I mean, did you try other ways at getting at that bigger point?
This time I decided to go this way because I was like, how can I keep like suspense and mystery alive while sneaking the depths of my heart into that larger, thing. So that was the challenge, and this film, each person can take what they kind of want, right? There is a personal thing to it.
Yeah.
So to a certain kind of person, the fires can, even till the end, be the thing.
Yeah.
It can.
Yeah.
And then if you're a certain different kind of person, you come away from that. And if you're another kind of person, you know that, what is really the undercurrent
Yeah.
going there. So playing on those levels, that was super exciting.
Right.
And challenging.
It's
And
challenging.
nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And editorially also very, you have to be nimble on your feet and you have to be responsive. You have to listen. So it's gone through all of that.
Right, right. How long did you take on the edit?
Almost 2 years.
2 years on the edit?
Yeah, 1.5 years plus.
Right. Did you lose a lot of footage?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's now 2 hours. There's a beautiful 2-hour, 40-minute film in there.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's how it started.
It was even longer. It was quite my screenplay had 140 scenes, plus VOs, so like 200 locations.
That's an epic.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, not that this isn't, but
Yeah.
that's
and the edit,
size-wise epic.
Size-wise, it is.
Yeah.
And, that's like 2 films, right?
Yeah.
70 scenes on average, right?
Yeah.
So we have 140, and then. So I'm ambitious that way, like artistically ambitious, and
what is wrong in having a 2-hour, 40-minute cut?
I might. We'll see. But this
is it? Did you say?
No, this is the core of it, Like this is the core of the film, and I'm very, very happy with this cut.
Nice.
Because the point that I really feel the most attached to is balanced in the ecosystem the most perfectly in this ocean.
Right.
So that balance is there for sure.
You know what I'm loving about this?
Yes.
You speak so lovingly and so philosophically about your film.
I mean, it's a relationship. It's like almost like, at some point when you're making it, it starts to have a life of its own.
Right.
And then it becomes a conversation. You're no longer really in control. It's quite scary also. It's very similar to, I don't have a child, but I would imagine it would be very similar, at some point.
But this is your child.
It is,
Yeah, it's your second
totally.
child, yeah.
Absolutely. So, yes, there is that connect, and there is also that space, as a good parent should have, to allow the film to create its own path,
Right.
and it becomes a conversation. So yes, there is immense love and sacrifice, and
All that, but are you also a very philosophical kind of person?
yes, I am. And I am very directly and deeply philosophical, actually, but I know in my art how to sneak it in.
Okay.
I believe that you have to first be relaxed to receive. And if I'm not relaxed, I don't receive. So using art as a medium, if you can relax and then form a condition that is, and Dev goes through this, through the film.
And that's the Manoj Bajpayee character.
That's the Manoj Bajpayee character, exactly. So how could we take that character arc to a point of receptivity?
Right.
And it's the same thing as a filmmaker would, me and my team are trying to do as storytellers. Can we create that moment in time? It's very nerve-wracking, like even the ambition of trying to do that, where you are receptive at that point in time.
Yeah.
And that is how art can be philosophical without being didactic.
Right.
That is the goal, at least.
Right. There are so many things in this film that, like, the first time there's a song sung and it's in Sanskrit.
Yes.
And the second time there's a song sung, it's a very folksy kind of
Yes.
way of approaching the same kind of subjects.
Yes.
So, there's so many little things here that just.
There's a lot hidden, more than you would think.
Yeah, no, but
And I've tried to hide them.
Yeah.
And some things are hidden so deep
Yeah,
that they may or may not be found.
yeah.
I'm okay with that, But yes, I have very intentionally tried to create all those conversions.
Yeah. Now, the really special thing, and this brought tears to my eyes literally, was when the film opened and I realized it was shot on film. I didn't know this earlier.
No, you didn't?
I didn't know. I mean, like, maybe it was out in the press notes or something, but I just landed yesterday.
Yeah.
So I just, like, literally, yours is the first film I saw.
Oh, lovely.
I had read nothing about it. I
Okay.
knew it's a Raam Reddy film.
Okay.
I know Manoj Bajpayee is in it.
Right.
So I'm going to this theater
Right.
and I walked for an hour to get there because
Did you?
I put the map on, the car mode.
Okay.
And it said some 12 minutes or something like that.
And you
But it's
assume
like-
12 minutes would translate to less than
Yeah, I said, okay, it's just 12 minutes. Let's just walk it up. And then it turned out to be like this hour-long walk.
12 minutes on the Autobahn.
On the Autobahn, probably.
Thank you.
No, but then, I'm just like, so I literally am like just spaced out, a little jet lagged, whatever it is. And then I'm like watch this thing and it opens and it's grainy.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is film.
Yeah.
And it really looks like something that was shot in 1989,
Yeah.
which is the time period this film is set in.
Yes.
Why film?
I mean, firstly, what you just said.
Okay.
Because if I'm in that realistic space and I've set the film at a certain time, I thought it was very interesting to use the tools that were available at that time to tell the story. So it has that flavor organically in its DNA.
Right.
Not just in the sets, in the costumes, in the everything else, but in the DNA of it itself. Because
Right.
that's the technology of the time in 1989. So that was part of it. And the other part of it is just the emotion of it. Like, I believe in like this transference of consciousness. We create a certain emotion on set. And so that emotion, it's like the light on my actor's face, or it's the set, and it's the sun's rays, which is real. It's really coming through a glass lens, and it's touching. It's the element of touch. It's touching the chemical and transforming it. I mean, that's magic already, right? It's not going into zeros and ones and coming into a circuitry. I feel it's different. And I've shot on digital as well.
Right.
And I've been a film photographer as well, where I've shot art photography on film, and you're holding it, and when the shutter falls, it's like you almost hear it breathe. The film is alive, and so it becomes like a part of the milieu, the DNA of it. And again, just like my film has its own life and breathe, the film does that too.
Yeah.
It's doing its own thing. You cannot control it 100%, and life and consciousness is just like that.
That's beautiful. And in an era that has become 99% digital, I would
Right.
say.
Right.
What are the challenges of making something on film right now? Because in Chennai, for instance, there's this famous Prasad Lab, right? Which
Yes.
is like where everybody used to go to develop
That's where we did
stuff.
it.
It's still there?
Yeah, and that's where we worked. It's the
Okay.
best.
Okay.
We
I thought
we
it was
scanned
closed
there.
down. Okay.
Yeah, no, we scanned there. I'll tell you about the process.
Tell me about the process.
I mean, obviously, it's much, much harder. But it achieves many, many things. The rigor of it, as filmmakers and as a team, when we know we're shooting film, is very different. You got to be more focused. You got to be better planned, and everyone can feel that. It creates an aura. Everyone's there, and everyone's on a single thread. It's not endless.
Right.
Digital has no wastage per se, because the hard drives and stuff. But that thread falls right in the center, of what we're trying to do. So it achieves that. Having said that, there are barely any film stocks left, and the typical stocks that are popular, I hate.
Right.
So 250D and 500D are the typical stocks. Everyone shoots on them, but I wanted to find a way.
Why do you hate them?
Because they're too grainy.
Okay.
So they take away from my storytelling per se. Like they scream, film, and I wanted to whisper film, per se. So we actually shot on slow stocks. We shot on 50 and 200 for night, and that's very hard because you need a lot of light, and that's why people don't do it. But we changed the way we shot. So typically on the slower stocks, which are popular, they actually overexpose and pull it down
Right.
in post. But what we learned is the faster stocks do that. The slower stocks that we shot on, they underexpose beautifully. And these audacious things, like Coppola did it, where he shot 3 to 5 stops under in The Godfather, so his studio executives couldn't brighten the film like the other films of the day, because there'd be no information.
Right.
And things like this have happened historically as creative choices. If you are bold, if you know. So we shot so much of the film in magic hour, more than 30-40%.
Yeah.
You know how that's hard for a production. But because we realized our slow stocks, like me and the DOP, Sunil, they underexpose beautifully. Whereas the fast stocks underexpose very badly. And so we created our own pipeline. We did 9 tests, which is a long process, unlike digital, where you have to shoot, send, come back, scratch your head. Shoot, send, come back, scratch your head. Go on. And it's a pipeline, starting from the stock to the lens to the exposure, then going into your scanning, which is another world unto itself. And then from your scan, you go into your DI pipeline, where then you deal with that scan to bring back the originality of the film and see what you want to enhance. It's a beautiful, long pipeline. And it ended with what you saw.
But it's strange because you're using the word DI.
Yeah.
And in the age, you just mentioned Coppola, for instance.
Yes.
And in Coppola's time, there was no DI.
But it was just a much more painstaking version of the same.
Right.
It's telecine or whatever it was back then. You're doing the same thing but with chemicals.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
I may have been purist enough or
But
crazy
not that
enough
much,
to, and of course it's a VFX heavy film, so we can't do that. But doesn't it sound beautiful to take a Steinbeck, splice it, and make the print of your work of art?
Yeah.
It's great, right? So at least I got to do most of it. But we had to add our... And this is something I would also love to talk about, is the fact that this film is VFX heavy.
Yeah.
But it's realistic.
You said you did not like white shots, but one of the white shots of your film
Right.
is of the fire engulfing an entire mountainside.
Yes.
And I mean, of course, you pull back and show what the extent of that the fire is.
Yes.
Then how much of it is there. How difficult is it to do VFX on film today?
Yeah, very challenging, and it's something that we've really, really worked hard on. So it's because you got to. Mine's a realistic film in a sense. So
Despite the beginning.
Despite the beginning, in the sense, a realistic film with magical element, but the texture, style I choose is realism. So VFX must not, stand out that way. It has to try to become like as invisible as it can, and that was one of the many challenges we kind of took on for this. And you got to grain. You have to create grain within the digital by using real film grain. It's super technical and it's fascinating.
Fascinating, yeah. No, you just used the word magical, and magical realism is such a loose term that's used for pretty much everything that is a little off the realism meter. How do you define magical realism?
Yeah, and I'm not using that term for this film because it's so hard to would you say it's a magic realism film after seeing it?
No.
That's the thing, right? Some people may, some people may not.
Yeah.
So we're not saying it's a magic realism film because I don't know what that is. It's such a loose term. What's cool about magic realism though is how unique an artist can make it.
Right.
Because all it's saying is you're not bound, your hands are not tied.
Right.
All it's saying is stay realistic. But then your hands are not tied. You can do what you want. So if it's Paul Thomas Anderson dropping frogs from the sky, he wanted frogs from the sky. I mean,
that's from Magnolia. And that is one of my favorite films.
Really?
Yeah.
So I'm in that space and I love that. And I love that freedom as an artist. Otherwise, you're sticking to a box and then you can't play. Why are we in the art field? Like, there needs to be an element of play.
Yeah.
In that element of play is the hair stands on you feel it.
Yeah.
So as in that's what excites me, and this genre, which I don't want to call, but say fiction with magical elements or realism with, is something that I've been into from literature onwards, from Murakami, Marquez, Salman Rushdie onwards. And I wrote a novel. My first debut prior to Titi, which not many people know, was a magic realism novel.
Yeah.
And that was my debut. So I really learned a lot as a storyteller from there, and then moved into film with the same kind of authorship where I, you want to play with those notes in an individualistic, specific way.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so exciting.
What made you say, I don't want to use a background score?
So all these things are so passionate for me that I'm so excited to be answering. It's part of the same thing. It's part of that same sort of willing suspension of disbelief magic trick. It's why I don't have credits, why I start with the film with sound rather than image. You really want senses to be heightened, and I think it's much more interesting to try to create emotion through firstly your actors, then through camera, through space, through edit, and finally try to create emotion through sound, which is why sound is so important to me in this film. And depending on where you're going to watch it, whoever's going to watch it, I'm going to be is it the sound I intend or not? Because we're hitting all these subtle notes. But that sound design can do it.
Right.
Music does it. It does it. We know that.
But in a very obvious way.
Yeah, meaning it does it. Music is pure emotion. It's oral emotion, right? And I believe in the power of music 100%. And I love it. It's too powerful for cinema, I believe. I mean, I'm so sensitive to music that it will come and sit on top of all these other things that are doing something and change it completely.
I'm not a big fan of background scores.
It's too easy or whatever you want to call it. So that challenge, and it plays into the realism side of things, right? So then you do kind of, if you believe in this world and these characters, that's half my job done. Then I can play, So this is part of that, the sound design.
No, I mean, when I say not a big fan of background scores, if you're doing some mega thing like Star Wars or Indiana Jones, then definitely yes, because that's such a, it's a huge thing, and the music feeds into the hugeness of it all.
Correct.
Whereas almost everything else, music has such an overpowering effect that
it needs to be in your script.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. And if it's in your script, it'll work.
Right.
So unless you score your music in your screenplay, right, and it becomes a part of these other elements, so it starts there, in the writing stage, that's something that I may do sometime, and it would excite me.
Yeah.
But if it comes on top of it as just a thing, I feel it doesn't work as gracefully, as sound.
Right. So one question about working with your actors.
Yeah.
You have Manoj Bajpayee here.
Yes.
This is not an actorly role, if you know what I mean. It's a very subdued kind of tone, like in the thing. It requires acting, but it requires a very different kind of acting,
Yeah.
which from what is usually considered acting.
Yes.
So, what were your notes to him about when he says, how do you see this character, or how do you want me to play this role? What did you tell him?
Yeah, I mean, it started from a soft interior, right? Like interior, and he's a character who kind of, he builds the wings, right? Of course, he owns the estate, but he is in that space where he is searching, whether he knows it or not, for something more. And so he needed, first and foremost, a sensitivity. Also, if you look at kind of the backstory and the way he gets the estate and stuff, he hasn't like necessarily fought through life that way.
Yeah.
It's come to him.
Yeah.
So it kind of allows you to be a certain.
He's inherited it.
He's inherited it.
Yeah.
So then you can kind of be vulnerable as a thing, and he doesn't know it in the beginning of the film, and that's why the film actually takes him to the point of vulnerability. Because
Yeah.
maybe he's not that vulnerable right at the outset, but it's that softness, and it's that we connected. Manojji and I connected early. Apart from the fact that he's phenomenal in every way and knows. I learned so much from him about how to hold. Yeah, look at me. I'm like all over the place. How to hold that note and that sur in a very masterful and very assured way.
Right.
It kind of got my feet on the ground and I'm running around all over the place. And we created this beautiful like chemistry as, our co-collaborators. But yeah, that was the brief I had given him, And so what I was saying is we connected on that deeper level because as people we both have some search or that philosophy is alive for us, and that innerness, that inner journey, that want or that search for something more is alive in both of us.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe he may say something about it himself, but we connected on that.
Right.
And we had a few very special experiences which he may share with you, like when we were in our pre-production in the mountains, which already are inherently mystical because they're the Indian Himalayas.
Yeah.
It's where a lot of magic has actually happened in those caves and stuff. Like, anyone who has ventured there and gone deep inward has found magic. We connected on that level, on a human level, apart from on a professional level. So then it changes into something else. It's not just we're not just telling a story. We are searching while telling a story.
Right. No, so just to go back, when you said you described the character,
Yeah.
How did you tell him you wanted the character played?
Yeah, so we go through it, right? We do these catching the scent kind of sessions,
Right.
where we kind of rehearse and we kind of see, the thing is he needed to be very soft spoken, but not like not intense in that sense. He needed to be there and grounded.
Okay.
So we worked on that. We worked on how do we make Dave light in an inner level.
Yeah.
So that he can be believed to be vulnerable in the end. He can be believed to. So that was a process. That was a journey, and it starts in prep when we're working together, and then it's in every single shot. We're searching for that shot, right? Together.
And on film.
And on film. Yes, and on film.
So you're like really doing these experiments
Yeah.
in a I mean, it's easier to do it on digital because there's limitless,
True.
space. Your
Yes.
card is you run out of one card and you put in another card and start filming again.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah, and-
But if we're not brave, then why are we all doing this? In the sense we're working so hard, we might as well just go all the way. Why why be scared is what I say.
Why be scared? That's a great
There's no need.
note to end this movie,
Yeah.
this interview with. This interview with. But tell me, Ram, what's next? Just the last thing.
A deep breath.
A deep breath.
A very long and deep breath, and then I'd let it come to me. I don't pre-decide. I let the next flow happen. It hasn't happened yet. Is my honest answer.
Okay.
But it's if we're in this space where we're free, anything can come next.
Yeah, but one thing is sure, because you're going to be busy for the next couple of years taking your film to various places.
Couple of years.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying it's like taking to various festivals
Yeah.
because it's a superb film, and I wish you all luck with it.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
good luck on the competition.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
Thanks so
you so
much.
much.
I really enjoyed the interview.
Thank you.
Thank you.
GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand, presents Galata Plus at the Berlin Film Festival 2024.
GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.